Today we're talking about the new update coming to Star Citizen 4.2 and all the things included in it. This is going to be a deep dive, so sit back, relax, get a little bit of popcorn ready, maybe a tomato or two. But we're going to get into the details of what's been going on, starting with the latest patch watch, which I completely missed a couple weeks ago. We were plane flying and stuff. We'll start here with the Atlas, the Atlas. Starting in Alpha 4.2, you'll now be able to summon your Atlas power suits directly via freight elevators in any hangar. This is not new. I mean, for like most of you guys. But I have heard good things about this, and honestly, this is, I think, what Jared was referring to last month during, was it Con 42? I believe, when he said that there was something coming in 4.2 that would kind of make us all aware that they are still working on this stuff and they're trying to get the whole vehicle spawning and elevators thing working. Can't come soon enough. Previously, they said retrieving an Atlas required using the ship elevator and an ASOP terminal. With this update, you can bring it up independently, making it easier to manage your ship and power suit it separately. This adds flexibility and efficiency, especially during missions where having them on different hangars is a strategic advantage. You can now even secure your Atlas directly onto your ship's cargo grid for easy transport. This sounds, I believe this is a pretty fun thing to do on upside down cargo grids that hang from places. I haven't seen if anybody's gotten this into a Prowler utility yet, but I have seen them on a raft. Not sure if that's gonna remain, but that's pretty cool. And would be even cooler if you could somehow deactivate the cargo grid and let the Atlas drop off the back of the raft when you land. Hope it drops soon. You get tired of playing the live PU and getting teased with all the new toys and events. Well, I think it's this week, based on what we've been told, but that's a hit or miss. Depends on how they're doing on stability. The Mirai UI now has a new style. The Guardian and Guardian QI have received a visual upgrade with the integration of the new Mirai UI style, first introduced with the Guardian MX. Okay, they got that in pretty quick. This was actually, when they said that, when they said they were going to do that, I'm pretty sure I made a little bit of a fuss about that not getting the upgrade right then and there. Like 1 month later, fantastic. Good job, CIG. That's 1 month isn't bad. It would be great if it was at the same time, but honestly, I was worried that it was just gonna kind of slide away, as we see with some of the other ships that have gotten variants added to the game, haven't necessarily been brought up to the same standard. Glad they're doing it with the Guardians. This update brings a sleeker, more modern cockpit interface to these ships, unifying the Guardian line under a consistent high-tech design language that better reflects Mirai's brand vision. We are still working on the Pulse ground vehicles and their variants. I don't know why I made that noise. It's it's got that neon cyberpunk feel to it. Like I'm being strangled by an Asari. Neutralizing threats with distortion. Distortion. In Alpha 4.2, missiles, bombs, and torpedoes will now explode when fully distorted. Huh. This means distortion-based weapons or fields like EMPs can trigger premature detonation mid-flight. With precise timing, you can disable enemy ordnance before it reaches its target, adding a new tactical layer to defense and counterplay. Huh? That's pretty fun. Slipping a little bit of E-War improvements in there. I like a slow improvement of a specific type of gameplay. E-War has a lot of potential to disrupt this game a lot and keep people safe and detained and oppressed, all without actually killing people, which could be useful. You know, if they do go the direction of making murder a very, very serious crime that gets you in a ton of trouble, it would be nice to still be able to disable ships and do things like that without having to go that far. So I'm always happy to see more E-War advancements, and triggering premature detonation of missiles is pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Still want the Sentinels EMP missiles. Well, we were fighting the Idris a couple weeks ago, and we really only took that Idris, or no, that was the Polaris. We really only took the Polaris down when we did because the Sentinel was there distorting it. I think distortion damage, I know it's always been a kind of thing that the more sweat having of Star Citizen players have talked about and depended on and made out to be a very powerful tool, but it's never really felt like CIG had a clear direction with it. Hopefully they do now, and they start making more and more additions to make it fit in a place in the game, because it could be really cool. And then, like I said, this could be a great way to deter people from killing you. Missile tuning and targeting improvements are also coming in 4.2, receiving a comprehensive update and tuning pass. This includes refining targeting mechanics, enhanced tracking behavior, and a broad rebalance across multiple aspects. Let's take a look at what's new. God, tuning and freaking missiles, turrets. We've gone through so many updates on them. I hope they can lock it in here. Targeting system improvements we got. Following player feedback and internal investigation during the Alpha 4.1.1 and previous cycles, we've addressed several long-standing issues in missile targeting and refined some of the underlying systems, specifically lock quality mechanics. We streamlined the lock quality mechanics so that once you achieve a lock on a target, your missile immediately gains full tracking effectiveness. Minimum lock ranges adjustments. Most missile types now require a slightly increased minimum lock distance, typically between 1.7 and 2.0 kilometers, to ensure targets have a fair chance to deploy countermeasures. Torpedoes, on the other hand, have had their minimum lock distance slightly reduced to improve usability. Anvil Ballista's bespoke Hellion and Scimitar missiles have received specialized tuning to better serve their anti-air role. These now allow for much closer target locking and overall improved tracking capabilities against targets. Man, I'm terrible at reading today. What's going on? Okay, so basically they're just changing the ranges at which missiles can be engaged and the overall ability for you to hold the lock on a target. I always find that I'm not entirely sure when I've received a lock on a target for missiles whether or not I'm losing that lock or if it's just kind of like, I don't know, doing something weird. Because then I'm like, why am I losing the lock? I'm still looking right at this ship. The ship is in my, it's right there. It's looking at me, I'm looking at it. We're locked. Don't unlock me. Countermeasure and tracking rebalance. Missile and torpedo tracking capabilities as well as countermeasure effectiveness have been fully rebalanced around the updated ship emission values introduced with the resource network in 3.24.2. Notably, torpedoes now feature improved tracking performance over standard missiles, enhancing their reliability and impact during combat engagements. What is there a generally agreed upon difference between missiles and torpedoes? To be honest, I always just thought of torpedoes as usually larger and typically dumbfired. I have no idea what the difference is supposed to be though. Additional updates coming to torpedoes, missiles, stuff like that. Torpedo explosion safety distance has been changed. A new minimum arming safety distance of 1.5 kilometers has been introduced for all torpedoes. This is, as you said, the distance between you and the missile or the torpedo itself. This means torpedoes will no longer detonate until they've traveled at least 1.5 kilometers away from you, whether fired with a lock or in dumbfire mode. Explosion radius and damage falloff has seen a change too. The maximum explosion radius for both missiles and torpedoes have been reduced, whilst we further investigate internal components or stored vehicles being damaged too easily from external explosions. We've also introduced damage falloff over distance within the explosion radius for the same reasons. It's interesting, this implies that missiles won't do as much damage to things inside the ship, which is nice. You can still salvage some of that stuff, even if you go down due to missiles. Torpedoes are slow and typically for anti-structure or capital ships. Missiles are smaller and meant for anti-fighter. Okay, so that was pretty much what I was thinking. Health sanity pass has also been given. All missile and torpedo types have undergone a health normalization pass. Health values are now standardized by weapon size, with smaller missiles being less durable and torpedoes being the most resistant. We're also excited to hear your feedback as you test the new systems in 4.2 and onwards. Moving on from there, we've got some actor feature changes with radiation widgets. Radiation widgets in FPS gameplay have been updated to provide clearer and more actionable information. You'll now see improved readouts that better reflect your exposure levels, along with new animations that help you quickly understand how fast radiation is building up or dissipating. These changes make it easier to react in real time and manage survival in hazardous zones. I know you can't see it because my big old head's in the way. Let me move this here. This word, survival, this is probably going to make a lot of people happy and piss a lot of people off over the next couple of years. The survival mechanics are like pretty minor so far. It's just really water and hunger right now. But radiation, I think, is just the start. Just the start of people having to pay more attention to what's actually going on around them. So you can see here, they've got the radiation statistics there, and actually we can go back and look at when they introduced this. CitizenCon 2954. So this is basically it right here.
That shield works in two ways, right? First of all, it comes from your outfit, so depending on what you're wearing, you're gonna have a better or less accurate shield, right? It has a threshold. As long as your radiation doesn't exceed the threshold, the shield will hold true. It'll scrub all the radiation off, and you can stay there as long as you like. But as the shield starts peeling off, when the radiation gets higher, the shield will peel off. And you know, the radiation sickness kicks in right at the end of the video here, and my health just deteriorates.
So this is, again, just making boots and like specific armors and stuff more valuable, giving you the choice to take certain things. Certain armors are getting radiation, and I really got to change this to, this is awful. Take me to dark mode. So there are certain armors that are getting radiation protection. Certain ships will probably have stronger radiation protection. So like when you go into a place like Pyro that has these solar pulses that we still don't have, I don't really know what's going on with those. You might have a ship that has the actual armor that's needed to keep that radiation shielding on. And this will go for not weapons. This will go for core armor, leg armor, arm armor, all the armors. And it's going to be part of what makes a difference with the equipment you take. And it's different from leveling up the skills of a character to get more radiation protection. So I like it that way. I like it better this way. And it's starting with this. I think one of the armors coming in this very patch is specifically radiation resistant. I believe they've also added some to the Morozov armors, or at least people said that it was getting it. The Morozov armors. And medical beds also are now removing radiation sickness. That's another survival element. Oxygen, mentioned by Vastin, is another one. Heat has been a problem in some situations now. What else is there going to be? Pooping. Can't survive unless you poop, you know? As long as they get suit lockers in relatively quickly, then managing environmental survival won't be too strenuous. That's what the video I made today is about. Check it out. Check it out at some point. It's a fun video. It's about really the problem we knew was going to happen with Star Citizen this year, which is like they're focusing a ton on content. And because features aren't really keeping up with that, we now notice the lack of the features that we need for said content. And it's becoming more and more obvious. And when is CIG going to be able to catch back up on features to make that work? My main example in that is the inventory system. All right. So that's just this last patch watch, but there is more coming in 4.2. First, I want to see, was there any other patch watches for 4.2? No? Okay. In that case, look at the most recent patch notes. Next up, we got some patch notes. This is going to run us through kind of the stuff that's currently in testing. We'll use this to cross-check with the release view of the roadmap itself. All stuff they have planned. The release view of the roadmap, though, is a little misleading because this is not all the stuff that's coming out with 4.2.0. As you can see here, we got a 4.2x, a 4.2x. So more stuff will get added to this over time, just like it did with 4.1. To start us off, though, we're getting stability and bug fixes. Yay! Grunt birthday party sound. Stormbreaker, all phases have been added in. We'll go over this in a second. We'll actually touch on that last here. Lazarus, Freight elevators, Apex, Valacar, all of that is included in that segment. Dynamic rain is coming in 4.2. This is a feature edition. I just released a video about how feature editions aren't happening very much, but they are still sneaking some of these feature editions in. Both the radiation effect that are now more active in the environment, dynamic rain, the Atlas Geo with the jump jets, that was a new feature. So we are still seeing some stuff coming in. And the dynamic rain stuff we've seen is looking really good. We're not quite at the level that they showed at CitizenCon with this first iteration, but I do think that it won't take very long to get there. Give you guys a little reminder of that one.
I'm getting out of this suit now. Powering up, flying out. We'll need to switch to IFR. See you on the other side.
So it looks good. And it comes with lightning. As you know, sometimes rain does that. Good for rain. And that's coming in 4.2. Really, it's focused around this Stormbreaker location, the Lazarus location on Pyro 1. But you can also find it on some of the planets. And it will continue to spread throughout the verse. It's rain. Now they're adding it in. Now we need low clouds in our corp. We need this rain. Maybe some more neon lights. Lower gamma. It is a great upgrade, and I can't wait to see them tie the wind and dust storms into dynamic weather. Because you kind of you don't want to, it can't just be random wind blowing, right? You want to see a storm in the distance and know that you need to get out of there. You want to feel like weather is something you can reliably understand and predict, rather than something that just happens to you and changes your atmosphere. Like, it's cool a couple times when you're at an outpost and suddenly it gets really windy and you're like, oh, this caught me by surprise. But you'd rather know that that's actually going to come up, because sometimes it just sucks. It's not what you were planning on. You were about to host a cool event and the skies look sunny, and you start your event and suddenly it's really windy. Why you do this, Microtech? All right, radiation. We already went over that. New to this patch, the Volt Laser Prism Shotgun. We've actually talked quite a bit about the Volt weapons and a couple different weapons that they're including in 4.1, in 4.2, probably in 4.3. They're seemingly holding on to these Volt weapons over time and releasing them slowly, trickling them in. We saw a lot of these during this video. Here is the Quartz. That's the SMG we got in 4.1.1. Back here somewhere is the Parallax, I believe. There it is. Oh, this is the that Pyro SMG. They also dropped that in. There's the Parallax. They dropped that in. The P8. Okay. I just lost. There's a P8 here. That one also got dropped in. I think that was in 4.0 we got that gun. And there are several other guns that you can find throughout this video. Here's the Space AK, the Pyro AK.
Video games, and that's how I ended up as a 3D artist.
Very laid-back guy, has a really good eye for stuff.
There it is, with a little bayonet on it. And then, of course, the Novia crossbow. So there's definitely some other stuff that's going to come in here. The Prism is a pretty cool shotgun. I haven't gotten to really use it much, so I don't have too much to say about it, but it looks really nice. And it has this really cool firing mechanism where it turns into kind of just a slug launcher. I don't know how much damage that does, but it looks pretty sick. But the Prism is not the only Volt gun we're going to get. We also have a Volt pistol. Actually made an appearance at CitizenCon last year. You can see that one here. This is not on 4.2, but it should be coming, I don't know, maybe 4.2.1 or something like that. Maybe 4.3. And then there's also the, really just like a sniper and an LMG and a few other guns. So More stuff to come. We're just getting the shotgun this time. The Argo Atlas Icti Eo Icti Geo Icti Rad Icti Rad? What's the Icti Rad? Does it protect you from radiation? So the Argo Atlas is the basic. The Icti is the basic with guns. The Icti Geo is the basic with guns, jump jets, and a backpack, I guess, which is kind of crazy. And the Icti is radical, dude. These are all of the mechs that we just talked about in the patch watch, and these are now, you can load them onto your freight elevator, which is nice. New Wicklow ship additions. I couldn't tell you what exactly those are. We did go over them. There's a lot of information out there, but I know that it added a couple different versions of various ships we've gotten recently, like the Zeus. New hairstyles showing up on the release view. You can see that here in 4.2.0. And the Sterling Exploration Chute. This is the one that has the radiation protection I was talking about. On top of that, we also have bug fixes. I won't go over all of these, but you can pick some out that sound a little interesting. The adult Valacar spawning in the air. Permanent ammo repool audio loop after spawning. Freaking, it's a terrible one. These are all known issues that are still in the PTU as of 3 days ago, so hopefully these will get fixed before the game goes live. Like, these should not even be in here. These aren't part of what comes in 4.2. Moving on, Stormbreaker and ASD location polish. Just looking at some of that stuff getting worked on. Rain polish, bug fixes, all that jazz. Let's switch over to the release view so we can actually see the features themselves. The Valacar, both Apex and Adult Valacar in the irradiated format, as well as the Juvenile, really just every single type of Valacar, but irradiated, as well as the Copion. Really the only technically new versions we have are the Adult and Apex Valacars, and you actually have to go to a specific place to find them. Just like with Hathor, this is going to end up with people not being able to see it for that first update or so. Because it's such a nuisance to get there. But to be honest, it feels weird now to say there's going to be content you're not going to be able to see, because there's not much content in the game, so we all want to see everything. But there's absolutely going to be content that plenty of people never see in the future. This is one of those things. Flying out to Pyro 4, raiding an outpost, taking some stuff from a vault thing, flying from there all the way to Pyro 1, going down into a storm restricted area, getting into this other location and fighting your way to get this egg and then turn this, like, this whole process is not something most people are going to do. So I don't think it's a big deal to have stuff at these locations that you miss out on in the long term. But I do think that CIG needs to start adding this stuff to other parts of the game in the short term. And I don't mean they have to be irradiated. Like, let's just get the Adult and Apex Valacar, and even the Juvenile Valacar, around other places of Daymar. Just have to wait a couple weeks, honestly. People get bored very quickly. I don't even think people are going to do it, though. That's what I mean. Like, this isn't a mainstream kind of activity in my mind. I guess it is for, if mainstream from the sense of most people want to shoot stuff. But at least starting out, I think most people aren't really going to care to go into Pyro for some narrative quest. I think this is going to be a later game kind of thing once we reach Star Citizen 1.0. Hathor? Yeah. Most people will try Hathor, I imagine, or at least happen upon the location. But this is a little different being in Pyro. Anyways, moving on, we got that Sterling Exploration suit that we saw before. This is a heavy utility suit built to withstand extreme radiation. This will probably be useful in more places than we have right now. Let's be honest. It's space. There's a lot of radiation out there. New hairstyles. Old man with receding hairline. Young woman working at, I don't know, boutique hair salon. Old woman working at the post office. And student. Those are my names for those hairstyles. Coming in 4.2.0. Medium utility armor is coming in 4.2x. We don't have to worry about that. Dynamic rain we've covered. Radiation we've covered. All right. Now the locations for Stormbreaker. See, this is why I think this is part of this is going to make 4.2 feel less interesting than 4.1. 4.1 still had the mining stuff going on. The location was fairly easy to get to. I do think that I have at least underestimated the, I don't want to say backlash, but just the general disappointment that a lot of players have in that they can't experience what makes up almost the entirety of 4.2.0. I want to say 4.1.0 had more going on, but I might be wrong about that actually. Either way, the main part of this update is the Stormbreaker series of activities they have going on. We've already done a video about this. We've already looked at this. We'll just jump around and kind of check out what they have to say about this whole location. We'll watch the first bit of it and then we'll skip to the second part, which is where all the irradiated stuff is. Check it out.
Frickin' Star Citizen actually requires you to go out and build locations that players want to visit. That's what we're doing now.
We were trying to push our FPS combat existing in-game and actually get players to feel like they're actually fighting for something.
Stormbreaker is different because you don't go into your contract manager to look for what to do. You just go off, fly down to a planet, and you start exploring.
We wanted to lead players from place to.
They say these. Why is it now working when I click? Whatever. They say these little things that I think we don't focus on as much, but that whole idea of, oh yeah, we made it so you don't have to use the mobiGlas is probably a bigger deal than we think. I think that might be a pretty significant way that they want us to take on missions, and this is the first of many that we'll see doing that. I also probably hope that more than I think, but they talked about it at CitizenCon, and I do think that they're using a lot of these content drops to test not just the content itself in the format, but also the way they're delivering it.
Place and make them question what they're seeing.
So I want to be clear here. Stormbreaker isn't an event, and it's not a mission. It is a sandbox activity. It will be persistent. It will keep happening. Every single patch, you can come back and you can run this over and over and over again, just like you can the Align and Mine sandbox activity.
It's not an event.
This is a continuation of the Regen Crisis storyline.
Hey, I was. Hold on a second. I'm pretty sure I made a video about that. This was all about that, how it kept getting called an event by CIG, which was wildly misleading because then people thought that it was just going to go away at some point. Say what you will about whether and whatever it might be called. They do need to make sure to specify to people that this is not a line, this is not, what was it called? Supply or Die, not Xenothreat, not Jumptown. It is Ghost Hollow. It is Security Post Korea, and it's not going away, and you don't necessarily have to take a mission to get it. Let's continue though on this one.
In 4.1, we saw how Rayari was trying to tackle the Regen Crisis.
In 4.2, we're starting to see what ASD, a faction called Associated Science and Development, is doing to address the Regen Crisis.
ASD is probably best publicly known for their weapons research division, which is releasing the things that TAD.
We'll start with these data facilities that you will find on Pyro 4.
This is where ASD is storing a lot of their data. So you'll find a bunch of servers, and this is actively being guarded by security forces, which means you gotta land your ship somewhere where it's safe and then make your way down on foot.
ASD does not want you there. They will be quite upset that you're trespassing.
So if you want to explore the facility, you'll have to fight your way in. You'll find...
Using the word explore is just... like, there's no reason to use it. It's just triggering people.
quite a few places in the facility that aren't that easy to get
It's literally just triggering people.
As you explore as a player, you will encounter a new type of door access, the Lotus Scanner. you will need to kill the enemies in the area to try to pass as one of them wearing their outfit. It is just a simple door, but with this new mechanic, you can feel like Indiana, dressing as the enemies and going inside the enemy lines.
Access granted.
As you explore deeper into the facility, if you pay attention to your environment, you'll notice a number of different places and rooms that require a bit of extra effort to get into.
There will be unique loot, and the more of the facility guards you relieve of the ability to go home and say goodnight to their children, you will slowly find the first piece of the puzzle that you'll need to finish this entire loop.
They don't deserve children. All right, so the next part is you fly all the way to Pyro 1 and you infiltrate a different facility.
When you get off the shuttle, everything's gonna try to kill you.
You'll be immediately assaulted by loads of security guards outside.
It is very dark. The visibility is very low.
You'll start being affected by the radiation damage from the storm. If you do manage to get a radiation suit, you'll still find irradiated wildlife for you to contend with.
So...
Girl, he just spit from his throat. Look at that throat up, Chuck. Ugh.
So, just watch your back, watch your friend's back.
Your objective is to get inside as quickly as possible into the relative safety of the research base.
Once you're inside this facility, that's where Stormbreaker really begins.
All that stuff that you've done to get there, that was purely the beginning. It's the intro scene in the movie. You've not even hit the movie yet.
Inside, you'll find danger, mystery, great loot,
death, action, cruelty.
Audio logs, finally an alternative to reading.
Hello. Here we go.
New ways to open doors, which doesn't seem exciting, but we really are excited about it.
I'm really excited to see you playing with this new mechanic.
You're gonna find irradiated things,
eggs, babies, screaming.
You're gonna find eggs and babies. Or specifically, these are Valacar babies, everybody. We're not getting that dark yet.
They might all be connected.
The horrors of science run amok.
You can find new battle vehicles that can only be earned in game. I said choo choo as well. This isn't a fucking train. It's got massive weapons.
No, you just can't. He's like. It's cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
Got the arms going up and down, shooting all over the place. So this was a look at the overall the activity that's coming with 4.2 as well. And I don't. It's not. They're really treading a thin line between stuff to do to keep players involved and engaged in the game right now, and stuff that is going to matter long term. You can tell, though, that this age of making these sandbox activities as opposed to global events is a lot more about stuff that they know can stick around in the game and they're not going to have to redo the work of. Sounds like they're still doing global events, and more power to them for that, because global events are pretty fun, but they are definitely mixing it up with some of this other stuff now. But that's the main part of 4.2. As far as the update goes, I mean, feature-wise, we're still waiting for something to really capture us this year. I still haven't done the local maintenance missions, but those aren't in Stanton yet. I think they need to get some new updates on the Stanton outpost system so that we can get local site maintenance, we can get more NPCs moving around in that system, and we can start to see more activity. That's about it, though, as far as the 4.2 overview, unless I'm forgetting anything else, which I might be. We'll touch back on this after the patch goes live for a little review.